Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today it is time for another Oscar predictions video, this time for the director and screenplay categories. Now once again, this is coming after a little bit of an update. We got more fall festival stuff going on. Apparently Deliver Me From Nowhere has just been announced for New York Film Festival, so that's exciting. And again, this is going to be like almost right before the fall fests start. If you want to follow my Oscar predictions and it's not just with videos and stuff, you can follow me on Award Expert at the Hannahcast. There you'll see not only my Oscar predictions as I make them, but also you can see my lists, like, you know, what I would have nominated, or something that I've been doing, which is if there were 10 Best Picture nominees in a given year where there were not 10 Best Picture nominees, what would they have been? So yeah, go ahead and check that out and let me know what you guys think. If I'm not mistaken, is this like the same 5 I had before? Because I think it is. Sinners, obvious. Okay, well, we'll talk about Sinners. Yeah, Sinners, Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, Begonia, J. Kelly. Especially, oh yeah, and you know, we also got the J. Kelly trailer, and it does look like this is going to be like a big thing for Netflix. Now, why do I have Accident above some of these other films? Well, I don't know exactly. I guess my thing is, like, if it's going to be in Best Picture, which I am predicting, then it would need Best Director. So, and I feel more likely, like, because again, like, you know, if we're looking at the scenario of these films being in Best Picture, like, I feel like Accident being nominated for Director is like a prerequisite for it to be nominated for Best Picture, whereas like Begonia and J. Kelly, they could get nominated for Best Picture without director nominations. But yeah, and like I said, Sinners, I feel like I've been saying this, you know, before, and I'll say it again. Sinners is either going to win Best Director or it's just not going to get nominated at all. Like, Ryan Coogler, like, does something with this film where it's like, it does kind of toe the line between, like, you know, what is like a, you know, big, you know, blockbuster spectacle, which the director's branch doesn't like, but also a very clear auteur vision, which the director's branch does like. And granted, you could also argue that with the Dune movies, like, that was clearly a auteur vision that they like, but I guess it was also because, you know, it maybe made too much money and it's too much of a big IP, whereas with Sinners, it is an original idea. But again, you could also argue, you know, what was that movie? Inception. You know, Inception was an original idea, and that got snubbed for director. So that's the thing. Like, either Sinners is going to win director, or it's just not going to get nominated at all. But right now, I do have Sinners winning Best Picture, and I feel like if it were to win Best Picture, it would need to win Best Director. Because, like I said, I'm playing 4D chess here with how award season's gonna go. Because I feel like this is not going to be an easy year for Best Picture, and so much can happen. And I feel like we're not going to get the same winner everywhere. Like, I don't think this is going to be like an Oppenheimer year or a Nomadland year where it's just one film that sweeps all the way through, or, you know, one film that is sweeping director and picture and then loses it, you know, the film loses picture at the last moment. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it is going to be more like an Everything Everywhere year, or an Anora year, or a Parasite year, King's Speech. You know, that the kind of year where no, or I guess King's Speech was a little bit different because like it was, you know, Social Network sweeping so hard until King's Speech came in. But I guess the more accurate, you know, description nowadays would be like Everything Everywhere and Anora, where like we didn't really know where award season was going at first, because like everyone was giving Best Picture and even director to different things. But however, at the end of the day, the guilds really mattered and really showed us where the industry was pointing, at least in the States. And I feel like that would most likely be Sinners, because again, with Sentimental Value, like, I do think it will do very well at like the BAFTAs, and it could also do very well at the Golden Globes. But like, I don't know if the guilds would go for sentimental value because, I don't think it would win PGA. Like an international non-English language film has never won PGA. Director doesn't really, this doesn't really sound like something that DGA would go for. And I know they just did Anora, but you could also argue that Sean Baker has had a big, or at least a very expansive career in the 2010s and early 2020s. And, his movies did get some big recognition, but at the same time, then you have Joachim Trier, and I don't think, this is the exact same scenario. Like, Worst Person in the World was kind of Trier's, big debut, or at least, at least the movie that everyone knows them from. So I don't think sentimental value would win DGA. It's probably not eligible for Writers Guild. And then SAG, I just don't think it would win SAG Ensemble. Like, this seems like something that Sinners would win. Either Sinners or Rental Family. And so because of that, and so what am I getting with all this? Well, when the Oscars don't really know what to do, they turn to the guilds, and then what happens? They put all of their eggs in a single film's basket. They did that with Anora, they did that with Everything Ever All at Once, they did that with Parasite. They really just went all in on one film. And even in years where it's like, the guilds didn't completely, where it wasn't like absolute chaos, when the guild, or at least when the Oscars lock in on a film where it's a tight race, they do go all in. They went all in, like I said, they went all in with Anora, Everything Everywhere, Parasite, Birdman, King's Speech. Like, when it's a tough race, the voters want to try to guarantee that film that they're really going after wins at least an Oscar. So they just kind of vote for it in every category that they usually can above the line, usually picture, director, screenplay. And I feel like that's going to happen with Sinners, at least as of right now. I mean, who knows what's going to happen later on? But I'm kind of thinking that. And so, Begonia it's interesting. It's a little bit more, contemporary than a lot of Yorgo Lanthimos films, but we'll have to see how this goes. I'm willing to say he gets nominated for now. And Jay Kelly, I feel like at this point in his career, Noah Baumbach is going to be considered, overdue for a director nomination, so we'll see. Hikari is interesting because I feel like she's the most likely woman to be nominated for the directing Oscar, because I don't really think anyone else comes close. I mean, sure, there is Mona Fastvold for The Testament of Anne Lee, but we don't really know how well that film's going to play out, especially considering Mona Fastvold and Brady Corbet's track record when it comes to directing. Trying to think of who else. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Masha Shalinsky for Sound of Falling. I mean, I don't know if Sound of Falling is really going to take off that hard. And Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. Again, I'm just not sure about that film. I don't know how well that's going to turn out. And honestly, and I know you're probably wondering, wait, where's Catherine Bigelow for House of Dynamite? I really, really believe House of Dynamite is not going to be a thing. It really sounds like a Netflix, thriller content movie. It doesn't sound like something the Oscars would do. So I'm that, not convinced that the film is happening. Also, one that you're seeing is that The Rivals of Zaya King out. Yeah, it's still not showing up at the fall fests, and I don't know what's going on. So it's I think it's probably just not going to even come out this year. And if it's not going to come out this year, then it's not going to be a thing in next year's Oscar, or in the next year's Oscars. So that movie's completely dead. It's sad. Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another. I know a lot of people still have Paul Thomas Anderson in the top 5, but here's the thing. If One Battle After Another is a bottom 5 movie, I don't think Paul Thomas Anderson is going to get in. I just don't. Especially when there's international films in the conversation. No. I think Paul Thomas Anderson could get in at Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and DGA, but I do feel like he's going to miss out at the Oscars because it's a lot more commercial than some of his other films, and the director's branch really doesn't like that. They don't like it when a movie is commercial and more broadly appealing. They prefer the more auteur vision. So I don't think One Battle After Another is going to get a director nomination. Bradley Cooper for Is This Thing On? He could get like a couple nominations. Or a couple precursors, depending on if Is This Thing On in Best Picture, which I am predicting it for Best Picture. It is a lot more low-key than something like A Star Is Born or Maestro, which is why I think he's less likely to be nominated for that. But I do think Is This Thing On is eventually going to get into Best Picture, and it's going to get in through like its performances and screenplay. But yeah, Scott Cooper for... Oh, wait, no, I forgot. James Cameron for Avatar Fire and Ash. I still believe in this for Best Picture. And I don't think the Golden Globes are going to nominate him, because if they didn't even nominate Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2, they're not going to nominate James Cameron, especially considering we're talking about the new Globes. Critics' Choice absolutely will nominate him. So yeah, and then Scott Cooper for Deliver Me From Nowhere, you know, because I have the film in Best Picture, I will predict, I will put Scott Cooper in the top 10 for Best Picture. Again, like with A Complete Unknown last year, you never know. You want, like, even if something seems so out of left field and you just don't think it's going to happen, you have to consider the possibility of it happening if the film is in Best Picture. You have to consider a film getting into Best Director if you have it in your 10 for Best Picture. Like, you have to consider, you have to put it on the list somewhere, because you don't know when the next James Mangold is just gonna, like, waltz on by, despite that, you know, not being, like, you know, what usually the director's branch does. Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice. I mean, if the film is in picture, definitely, but I don't know. I will say the narrative on him might be a little bit, you know, bad, or at the very least, like, not as great, because, you know, he apparently scabbed during the Writers Guild strikes, and, you know, he was expelled from the Writers Guild of America. So I don't know, like, maybe the industry will not like that, but we'll have to see. Kleber Mendonca for The Secret Agent. Mendonca Fijo for The Secret Agent. I mean, again, if the film is in picture, sure, but I don't know about that. Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, maybe, but also, again, I've been very wary about Marty Supreme in picture, so I want to hold it back. I want to hold off on that. I already explained Mona Fastvold. Edward Berger, I already explained. Actually, no, I didn't explain Edward Berger. Like, Ballad of a Small Player could get into Best Picture. That is a possibility. I mean, granted, like, the from what I understand, the source material is not really Oscar baity, but still, who knows? But Edward Berger hasn't really had much luck with the Academy, especially in such a short amount of time. So I don't know. We'll have to see. John M. Chu for Wicked for Good. Again, I'm very wary about Wicked for Good. I don't know if it's... again, I've been saying this before and I'll say it again. The reception for the second half of Wicked, or the second act of Wicked, is very divisive. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it's not... I'm not very confident in predicting it in Best Picture right now, so I'm not going to do that. And so I don't have John M. Chu in the top 10. But even if Wicked for Good were in Best Picture, I would still not predict John M. Chu for director, because it's still like a big blockbuster, and the director's branch just does not like that. Let's see. Clint Bentley for Train Dreams. I don't know. This movie might be a little bit too low-key for a director nomination. Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein. I do not believe Frankenstein is going to be an above-the-line contender. I just do not. Look, again, it's a remake of a monster movie. I don't care what it's based on a book, it's not really a remake. For all intents and purposes, it's a remake of Frankenstein, okay? Like, there have been endless versions of Frankenstein. They're doing it again. Like, for all intents and purposes, it's a remake. I don't want to hear it. I just don't think they're going to do Frankenstein. Frankenstein just does not sound like something the Academy would do. So, yeah. Then... we have... Oh yeah, I already talked about Masha Shalinsky. Bill Condon for Kiss of the Spider-Woman. If this film were in Best Picture, maybe. But again, this film looks pretty dead. It's not even showing up at the fall festivals. Luca Guadagnino for After the Hunt. Again, you're probably surprised at how unconfident I am in this movie. But again, Luca Guadagnino does not make Oscar films. He does not make films that get nominated for Oscars. At least ever since Call Me by Your Name. So I just can't do it. Mike Flanagan for The Life of Chuck. Again, it's just sad where that's going. Benny Safdie for The Smashing Machine. Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. Roman Day Lewis for Anemone. Yeah, again, I just don't think, like, yeah, nothing is really sticking out to me so far. I just got, again, it's the same top 5 I had before, but yeah. Original screenplay. I still have Sinners winning again, like I said before. I feel like this is the kind of year where the Oscars are going to put all their chips in one basket, and that basket I feel is going to be the Sinners basket. So I think they're going to do that. Sentimental value at number 2. Jay Kelly, and also with Sinners, it's going to win Writers Guild. Like there's no like the most competition it has is like Jay Kelly. Wait a minute. Fixed it. Okay, there we go. But yeah, I guess at the Writers Guild Awards, like Sinners' biggest competition would be Jay Kelly. But again, Sinners is just so Writers Guild coded. I just feel like it would just win that. So again, that just makes a lot of sense to me. Sentimental value, I think, is number 2 because it could win BAFTA. But yeah, Rental Family, surprisingly not Writers Guild nominated, which, you know, or I should say, I don't think it's Writers Guild eligible, so I feel like that would hurt its Best Picture chances, because a film like this would do very well at the guilds, but if it's not in the Writers Guild, I don't think like BAFTA would save it, and Critics' Choice isn't going to save it, so it's probably just going to stop there. And is this thing on? If I have it in Best Picture, it would need Screenplay, because, you know, like, this is, like, the screenplay just seems to be, like, first and foremost, along with the performances. So, it's kind of like a prerequisite. If it's going to get into Best Picture, it would need Screenplay. But it also needs Best Picture if it wants to get into Screenplay, because original Screenplay is so packed with, like, Best Picture potential films, and, like, and films that would kind of need to get into Screenplay if they want to get into Picture. So, that's kind of what I'm going with right now. And then at number 6, it was just an accident. Again, I have it in Best Picture. It could get into Screenplay, but I don't know what it would bump out, if I'm going to be completely honest. I have no idea. So there is that. The Secret Agent, again, if it's in Best Picture, it would be in Screenplay. Sound of Falling, Testament of Anne Lee, Marty Supreme. Here's the thing with Sound of Falling, like, I could maybe see it get into Screenplay if it were in Best Picture, because the narrative does seem to be told in a very interesting, unique way, and the writer's branch does like that, or at least, you know, the screenwriters do like that. Like, you know, look at Nickel Boys winning the Writers Guild Award for adapted screenplay. You know, it won because it was a very unique perspective in how to tell a story, and I feel like the Academy, or like, just not even just the Academy, but writers in general, kind of like it when movies do that. So yeah, and again, Marty Supreme, yeah, again, if it were in Best Picture, sure. Smashing Machine, After the Hunt, Anemone, at the Sea, Ella McKay. Yeah, now we're getting into the trenches, but I think it's most likely something in like the top 10. Yeah, probably something in the top 10. And like I said, I'm just not really convinced of After the Hunt in the slightest. Moving on, we have adapted screenplay, which is not as competitive. Like, there is room for films that are not in Best Picture to get nominated here. And right now I'm going to go with Begonia, and surprisingly enough, unlike The Favorite and Poor Things, Begonia, I think, is eligible for the Writers Guild of America because, or at least the Writers Guild Awards, because this is from the same writer of The Menu, and The Menu got nominated for original screenplay back in the day. So, I think this actually could win Writers Guild, it could win BAFTA, like, it could maybe sweep, because I don't really see anything else winning. Like, Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere will probably get in because it's in Best Picture. One Battle After Another, I'm not gonna lie, I think this and Best Picture are the only nominations I have for the film, which is weird, but you can get into Best Picture. Like, in lineups of 10, you can get into Best Picture when you only have picture and screenplay. You know, look at, Nickel Boys, that got adapted screenplay and Best Picture. Then the previous year you had Past Lives, which only got screenplay and picture. And then the previous year before that, you had Women Talking, which only got picture and screenplay. So, that is possible. Yeah. Wake Up Dead Man, it's going to get nominated because it's like the Knives Out movies always get nominated. And then the last slide is kind of interesting. I'm going to go with No Other Choice because it might be the most buzziest film. It could be somewhat close to Best Picture. But again, I don't know how much the, Writers Guild thing is going to hurt Park Chan-wook. But then, there's Ballad of a Small Player. I mean, Edward Berger's films have been pretty successful thus far. But again, I need to see what the response is to this film. I need to see what's going on here. Train Dreams, I mean, again, by virtue of there being not a lot of competition, it could slide its way in here. Frankenstein, maybe Writers Guild could do it, but I just don't think the Oscars are going to do it. The Life of Chuck, I mean, it does make sense, but it's kind of nothing at this point, so probably not. Superman, I don't know, it might get in Writers Guild, but probably not here. Avatar, Fire and Ash, it's in Best Picture, so you always want to keep an eye on it. Hamnet, I don't know. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just don't think... I know a lot of people have this in their top 5. It doesn't sound like something that would get nominated for the Oscar for Best Picture. Oh, no, for Best Adapted Screenplay. The Naked Gun, I have at number 14. I don't think it's going to get nominated for the Oscar, but I do think The Naked Gun will be nominated for the Writers Guild Awards because it kind of has everything that the Writers Guild Awards likes. They like comedies. It's doing pretty well at the box office, and also it's being considered like a, we're back with good spoof movies again. Like, everyone seems to at least very much enjoy this movie. So with that in mind, I do think Naked Gun will get into the Writers Guild Awards. It's not going to get into the Oscars for adapted screenplay, even though that would be cool. But I do genuinely think people are missing out in terms of thinking about what could get nominated at Writers Guild. Wicked for Good, I mean, even if this were in Best Picture, I don't think it would get nominated for the Oscar because they don't do stage musicals in adapted screenplay. No matter how close it could be to Best Picture, I mean, the last one to do it was Chicago, which A, that won Best Picture, and B, more importantly, because of the way that movie was structured, and where it kind of separated the real world from the musical fantasy world. That was something that, no other musical film had done up to that point, and it kind of radically changed the perspective in way the story was told, and it wasn't just telling, the stage show, beat by beat. And that's the kind of thing, the writers, that's the thing, the writers branch also doesn't really like it when you adapt something, word for word, and it's just exactly, it's just exactly the source material. That's what hurt The Whale. That's what hurt The Tragedy of Macbeth. That's what hurt West Side Story and Les Miserables. That's what hurt, I'm trying to think of, what other, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, probably. Whereas other movies based on stage shows, for example, let's say The Father, that was based on a play, but also, the movie specifically plays into the medium of film and the medium and, the uses of editing and stuff, and you have to put that all into the script. So, because of that, and because it felt like a genuinely different version of all that, a genuinely different version of the source material, I think, that's why The Father got in. So I don't think Wicked for Good's going to get in. It's probably just going to be considered, an extended version of the stage show, but nothing is really being added, at least nothing significantly. The Roses, I don't know, it just kind of looks like a regular comedy. Kiss of the Spider-Woman, again, this movie is just kind of dead overall. And yeah, guys, those are my Oscar predictions for the director and screenplay categories. This was rather brief, but again, there's not too many updates, but I just wanted to keep you updated. Like I said, I am on Award Expert. You can find me at the Hannahcast, and you can follow me for any updates on my Oscar predictions before I start making videos. Apparently, you can even leave comments and stuff. So leave a comment on my predictions, or leave a comment on, on my lists or whatever. I don't know. Now, I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your director and screenplay predictions? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and be sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, you're going to be expelled from the Writers Guild of America.